What's up guys, Devin here from Naughty Boy RC, and in today's video we're doing a little comparison between the LRX and LDX RC car chassis from Louise RC. Let's get into it. So if you're late to the party or missed the news, Louise RC has recently rebranded the carton line of RC cars under their own name and made them a little bit more available here in the United States through a distribution deal with HRP. Being a dealer through HRP, we jumped on the opportunity to pick up a couple of these cars when they were released and test them out here on the channel. Now that they've been on the site for a while, quite a few people have picked them up. We've been getting a lot of questions from interested parties and customers who already have a car and want to know if they should pick up the other one. And we get the confusion. From the outside, these cars look very similar aside from a few bling bling parts, the wheels and tires, and just a couple minute differences. But there is one huge difference, and that is price. The LRX is significantly more expensive than the LDX, but there are several reasons why, and we're going to jump into that into today's video and hopefully clear up some confusion you guys may have between the LRX and LDX chassis. Now, after looking at the price, the biggest and most notable difference between these two chassis is going to come in the form of assembly. The LRX is a true kit. You're going to have to build this from the ground up. Although there is some help with the tie rods and with the gear diff assembly, you're still going to have to put in most of the work on this chassis. On the flip side of that, Louise RC takes out the majority of the work with their LDX drift car. This is going to come as a 90% pre-assembled roller. You're going to have to attach your bumpers and body posts, but other than that, this thing is ready for you to put electronics in, go out and have a rip. Speaking of which, neither car come with a body or electronics from the factory. You're gonna have to add both. You're just getting the chassis when you buy these cars. Although they both do come with pre-mounted tires and wheels. With the LDX, you're gonna get a pre-mounted set of gray wheels with hard plastic ABS drift tires. Whereas on the Rally, you're gonna get a pre-mounted set of soft, big, grippy Rally tires. Now the cars as a whole are extremely similar. They're gonna utilize the exact same tub chassis. They're gonna have the same suspension arms, turnbuckles, bumper mounting systems, steering, drive shafts, all that good stuff. The biggest differences have to do with height and gear ratio on the Rally chassis. You are going to get metal shocks on the Rally compared to the composite shocks on the LDX, and the Rally shocks are noticeably larger. And another big difference, those shocks are going to be mounted to carbon fiber shock towers on the LRX, as well as a carbon fiber rear body post mount. There's also a little more bling on the Rally with that carbon fiber top plate in the front of the chassis. They also sprinkle in just a little more bling with aluminum C-hubs on the Rally chassis. Now moving that towards the back of the car, another big difference is going to be the ball diff on the LDX and the gear diff on the LRX. From there, the only big gear difference between the two chassis is just the ratio. There's a little bit different gear in the Rally, so you're getting a 6.27 ratio with the drift and then the 6.59 with the Rally. As far as overall wheelbase, track width, all that, it's pretty much identical, with the Rally wheels just sticking it out 2 millimeters wider than the drift. Now, one really unique feature with the Rally that the drift could definitely use also, and if you pick up the drift, I would recommend picking one up, is going to be this clear chassis cover. Obviously, with the Rally, they expect you to do a little bit more off-roading, so that's a great way to keep debris out of the chassis without significantly adding excess heat to the ESC or the motor. We'll leave a link right here to our LDX video, but when we last ran this, it completely filled the chassis with dirt and debris, and that chassis cover would have been super nice to have, so next time we have this out, it is definitely going to be added. And if you have a keen eye, you might notice we don't have drift tires on there at all. We actually have a older set of touring car tires. The reason being, this car is actually a touring car. It's not a drift car at all. You get that sometimes with the RTR four-wheel drive cars. Manufacturers will put on a set of plastic wheels and tires and call it a drifter. But this LDX is actually bred from the Carton T410 EP touring car. We tested it as both in our video, and it did okay at drifting. I'm a terrible drifter. That was my first real attempt at a four-wheel drive drift car. I thought I did okay. After a little bit of getting used to and some transmitter adjustments, it did pretty decent as a drift car. Being four-wheel drive, you can put an absolute crap ton of power to this thing and just let it rip and do crazy long power slides for days if that's something you're into. But on the flip side of that, as a touring car, this thing was so much fun. It was an absolute blast. Handled amazing. We were running on a beat up tennis court that was just covered in dirt and dust. These touring car tires collected that dust fairly quick and made for a very slick track, and this car just ate it up. It did so good. It was an absolute blast to run. And same thing goes for this rally car. We'll leave a link to a couple of our videos here, but this is already featured in 2, maybe 3 videos on the channel. I can't quite remember. This thing has done absolutely fantastic every time we have had it out. Haven't broke anything yet. Now again, we haven't done any crazy stupid bashing jumps with this thing, but as a rally car and just general bashing, it's held up amazing. We do have a loose body post back here, but that's nothing a little Loctite can't fix. So, moral of the story, although these cars are very similar, they do have several differences, which adds up to the price difference between the 2 chassis. Which you choose is ultimately up with what you plan on doing with the car. If you think you're going to be doing mostly off-road stuff, the LRX is the way to go. Maybe you want to drift from time to time, just pick up the LRX and throw on a set of drift wheels if that's something you fancy. The suspension on the LRX can also be lowered, so you can do some touring car stuff. It's not going to be as low as the LDX with these shocks, but you could get there. And you can basically make this a 3-in-1 chassis with a spare set of shocks and wheels. That being said, if you plan on sticking to the tarmac, maybe doing some carpet racing, this LDX is an excellent way to get on track with a super budget friendly touring car. It doesn't have any of the fancy bling, but it is completely adjustable with the turnbuckles, the shocks, the diffs, all that good stuff. In the on-road racing community, I have seen in the last couple years, there's a big push for a tub chassis like budget spec class. And for how cheap this is, this would definitely be a good contender. Now we did run both chassis on 3S almost exclusively. We did a slightly more 2S testing with the LDX, but both these drivetrains held up great. If you want to get stupid and put a 6S system in it and try to launch it to the moon, go ahead. It'll probably hold it for at least a couple minutes. But if nothing else, these just make some awesome 3S on-road or light off-road bashers. If you have an old RTR brushless system laying around, you could slap it in one of these fairly cheap and go have some on-road fun. But the best part, even with these chassis differences, like 90% of the parts are swappable, or if you change out a couple more parts, you can get the rest of them to fit also. The biggest difference is just that front gearbox. The Rally one is independent from the LDX gearboxes, and the 2 LDX gearboxes are the same as the rear on the Rally one. That's really the only oddball difference. Everything else you can interchange, make work on these cars. Obviously the LRX towers, putting on the LDX, your shocks are gonna be like way up here, but if you get longer shocks or vice versa with the towers, you're gonna be absolutely fine. If you have the LRX or LDX or the carton variants of these cars, let us know down in the comments below. Let us know your experience with them. We've had extremely positive experiences with both these chassis here at the shop, and in our dealer group, we have seen other dealers and their customers have a really good time with these affordable cars also. If you're interested in the LRX or LDX, links will be left down in the description below, or you can head directly over to our website, www.naughtyboyrc.com. And remember, keep it naughty.